Check it. Here's another Wisco Weekly video of how the Recall Newsom campaign acquired signatures. Acquiring signatures, or otherwise known as acquiring wet signatures. Why wet? Because you had to use a pen and use the liquid from a pen to sign a piece of paper, and that was known as a wet signature. Acquiring wet signatures was a big thing, a big ordeal about the recall. And the recall campaign needed 1.5 million signatures, wet signatures. In the digital world, we don't use wet signatures, but we use digital signatures. And we'll use companies like DocuSign, for instance, to help with that. On a much broader level, though, if you don't use a company like DocuSign, for instance, you could still acquire a digital signature from users by simply having the user check a box on a form that agrees that user agrees to the terms and conditions, and that user submits their information. This is also known as lead generation. Have a watch of this video to see and hear from Mr. Orrin Heatlie as he describes the process of acquiring signatures and at what cost, and see if you can apply some of these tips and tricks and lessons and insights on how maybe you can acquire more leads for your business.
The other thing that we had utilized was email distribution. So being a political action committee, we have access to the voter registration database. There's 27 million emails in that database. When you cleanse the database and you go through and you eliminate the good ones versus the bogus emails, or et cetera, you realize that, okay, our target market was the non-party preference and the Republican household emails. So when you break that down, there was 1.5 million non-party preference emails that we had access to. There's 1.3 million Republican households. So
wow, that's it?
That's it. Emails for emails.
But out of 27 million, you're saying that 1.3 was Republican, 1.5 was independent.
MPP. Yeah. But those were cleansed. And, a lot of people, when they're filling out political paperwork, they're going to put a dummy email down that doesn't go to anybody. Or like me, I'll put my brother's email down just to mess with him.
Nice.
I do that for sweepstakes too. So anyway, I digress. But fact is, sending out those emails that through an outside source costs quite a bit. I mean, it's, about $2,000 to cleanse each, for each, the MPP, $2,500 to cleanse that email base, and then another $2,500 to cleanse the other one. So there's $5,000, and then about $6,000 to $8,000 to actually send an email out to these folks. So what we did is we sent an email out that included a PDF. It included a link to the website. It included, the access, because what was our goal? The one thing we wanted to do and achieve was to get people to download the petition, fill it out, and send it in on their own.
Okay,
so very effective.
So this is good, because oftentimes when folks would run, whenever a business owner is trying to do something, too many times it's always about, well, I need to make more money. I need to sell X amount of products. And in today's world of data, and there's so much data, you kind of have to be more hyper specific about what you're looking to accomplish. And so for you, in order to get to that big macro goal, it's that we need people to download the form. And so after that, then you're just reverse engineering how you do that. Excellent.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yep. So there's something that we didn't cover that your audience might be curious about is there's 4 mechanisms to gather signatures for a petition.
Oh yeah, let's make it harder. Okay, let's go through it. All right.
So you have your volunteer force, right? And then you have your website where people download the PDF. And then you have your mail room where people mail petitions in from the outside. And when I say mail room, you can send out direct USPS mailers to households. like we did the email, we actually have people's home addresses, and we can send them a copy of the petition, ask them with a self-addressed stamped envelope, ask them to turn it back in. So that's number 3. Number 4 is professional paid circulators, and they're very expensive. So look at out of these 4, your volunteer base, which we used exclusively, is very cost effective. I think with the 1.5 million signatures that we gathered through the volunteers alone, that was an acquisition rate of about 50 cents a signature. Okay. The emails and having stuff sent back into us, that was a little bit more expensive. I don't know the exact rate, but your direct mailer, about $2.50 a signature. And then the paid circulators for this initiative, for this recall, it was about $5 a signature.
$5 a signature,
which is half the normal initiative. So when you see an initiative that's being circulated out, and you're walking into the store and there's a paid circulator out there that are taking signatures, they're usually making anywhere from $10 to $15 per signature.
Is that how big? I'm not too familiar with that profession. Is that a big profession?
It's huge.
Holy
I
cow.
wasn't familiar with it at all either, but there's about 6 entities that do this nationwide, worldwide. But nationally, there's 6 corporations that actually produce this, and they're kind of like a temporary employment agency. Basically, they have people in Georgia doing initiatives. They have people in different states. I think in Arizona, they're actually handing out government laptops and getting paid $40 a person to hand out these laptops. And then in California right now, the people that I know that are paid circulators are actually going around at $12 a test. They're getting people to take a self-administered COVID test, and then they take that sample and mail it in, and they get $12 from the government for doing that.
And professional circulator, what was the official name?
They're paid contract professional circulators, and what they do different things throughout the state. And forgive me for and I don't want to disparage anybody, but I refer to them as kind of a traveling band of gypsies or carnival workers, for lack of a better term. That's what they do. They go from city to city, setting up shop, doing different things, but their mainstay is taking signatures for public initiatives.
Uh-huh. Wow.
So, and we're all hopefully familiar with the public initiative process. That's where, if the public wants to see something done, they have the ability to actually initiate their own laws. We in California, we can actually amend the state constitution through a public initiative. And that's what these guys do is they, if there's a corporation that wants a law passed, they can do it through a statute, through the public initiative process. And then once they get 1 million signatures and it gets put on the ballot, then the public gets to vote on that initiative. There's your civics lesson for the day.